WebSockets is a big chunk of it, and there are some open ends. So I think it's good to discuss this in this forum. Then I'd like to discuss something that was mentioned in the Slack channel of the full nodes, which is this old versus new block hash, and how do we align ourselves between different client implementations. Then I'd like to make a couple of remarks again on the 0.8, which is not WebSockets. So there's other update that front. Like a couple of comments there, and then I'd like to ask this update. So how the peer is going, how is the demo going, and the front. Right. So I'm gonna ask Alex from our update on website scheme and Itai, the main point on here for this. So it's to you.
Okay, so as I wrote on the channel, updates on some of the discussions on the and on the PR itself. So one of these is for pending transactions under other filter, which I think makes sense if there are other filters. Makes sense. So just to touch on transaction, now it is a placeholder for when will be. Eventually, its purpose is to transactions in the mempool as it is in Ethereum. For now, it is saying the transactions in the block, which are also interesting for clients, and that they cannot or doesn't make sense to obtain from getting a full.
How it to work with transactions? Because a client a node, I would probably send transactions onto that. So okay, they have been received. Doesn't mean that they're propagated in the network. It doesn't mean that they received the we propose of the next.
I mean,
so
yeah, I mean that's the nature of the mempool, that it is not finalized.
I send to a node, I add a transaction report if it received the transaction, right? While
yeah.
doing an event. So and it's not like an event, right? What's the purpose?
What's the purpose of pending transactions in general?
I think if you know that the transaction wasn't, if you have to, it's a check.
So we'll need an transaction.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the point is not to have some indication of the transaction finality. The reason for having information of pending transactions is, I don't know, could be many, but if to outbid, for example.
So those transactions sent and will receive this node.
Yes. Yes. Okay, but again, that's in the future. Okay, so that's one change. I've done some cleanup of things that were discussed, again, more on the way we define things, and notification for a reel. So I don't know very smart how to define which subscriptions will receive this notification, but it's the ones that so for headers, events, and transactions. That's the updates. So two questions that are something Ariel asked, whether it makes more or less sense to return arrays and not single notifications for each type event. I think it's mostly uniformly used. You are using a single list per notification, single object per notification. Yes, there is maybe reasoning for why not to do it. I don't think there is a reason. Maybe in terms of efficiency, but I'm not sure if it's a strong argument. And the more interesting one is we should allow catching up, so subscribing and number or hash, and let the node send you all of the missing blocked events up to the letterbox dance, and from then on as a stream. So it's useful. The question of whether it is easily distinguishable that you are getting something old versus whether this duplicates implementation for the node. So that's also a question to pass find implements if you think that makes it complicated and
Be careful for about bugs where an app, let's say, forgets to set initial, or maybe it's to 0 and gets the entire history.
I think the default, I think the default will be just the latest. So you always just start with the stream of the latest, and only explicitly it you will get a catch-up. But and also the catch-up string should limit it in how far back should. But yeah, I also would like to hear the node's inputs on such a deal.
Yeah, from the unit side, I'm for Kirill today. I can run it by him, but I don't foresee any real problems myself. But this is a WebSocket thing, so I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't see how we would limit the amount of people we serve this data to.
Not sure about people, but like I imagine that it would be less. It would make less sense to start it from block 0, even if it is an option. Say 1,020 blocks back or some number that makes sense.
Sure.
Christian?
So as I already wrote on the PR as a comment, so I think that this would certainly complicate implementation somewhat. But on the other hand, I also do think that you have the API for fetching historical stuff anyway. So why should we just add another interface to get the same data?
That makes sense.
I thought so at first, but I think for adapt it's a matter of interface, right? So when you write the code, you only need to write like WebSocket code and WebSocket structures, and you don't need to write the code twice, once for sync with an RPC and then another for only with the website.
Mhm.
It's easier in terms of code.
Yeah, I have a similar request from wallets as well, that something like this does make sense to them if they are losing connection or something like this and want to make sure they are caught up on the latest information.
Yeah, okay. It certainly can be implemented. So if we think that this is there is a real use case for this feature and it makes it a lot simpler for users to catch up with current state, then I think I would say we should just go for it. With certain limitations, of course, like if you are only using this for chat or the intended purpose is only for catching up, then we should put some limitation on how far you can go back. Probably add the matching error as well that clearly tells you that you are trying to fetch data that is far back or something like that. Which also brings up a question of how useful it will be then. I mean,
I think the action item is I will indeed discuss it with some other folks who mentioned that they are looking and exactly what the interface and use case that they are expecting, and what discuss with them what we've raised here, and if it so given the limitations and the how far back, if it still makes sense to do it, then we'll add it and I'll update the spec accordingly. I think that's it. So that's an action item for me. Besides that, I think I cleaned up errors and stuff like that. Still, if there are anything you would like to comment on the review, other than that, I think this is the last point, and once this is resolved, we can merge it to the RC. Yeah, questions.
Just one more thing regarding the pending transactions subscription. So I probably misunderstood it, but what is the use case for that?
Okay, yeah. So again, this is a bit of a placeholder as it is now. So we have pending transactions now. They are like pseudo pending. They are in a block, but it is not finalized yet. But they are, in a sense, accepted already. So yes, this is useful as it is now. For when the mempool will be available, it is also useful to get a stream of transactions that are in the mempool of the node that you are connected to. So this means nothing about their finalization, but I don't know. You can, as a DApp, already show that the transaction is waiting in some way, or again, this is maybe less of the best use case, but if you want to outbid some transaction, then you already get some information about it, and you can outbid it.
Yeah, the only caveat I want to, because we double click on it, is that a mempool is allowed to also delete transactions. This is not the case today, right? Today it's a queue and we try to sequence all of them. So in terms of events, maybe maybe we need to take care also of wait for a client to discover that a transaction is no longer, because happy path right now is they get this, let's say it's an Oracle tick, right? They see an Oracle tick in the mempool and they say, great, now I can submit an order. But maybe the Oracle tick will, the fee is not acceptable and it will be deleted.
But I don't think that it is up to.
Also, I want to mention that you don't know, you want to outbid rate, but you can't guarantee whether you will be.
It shouldn't be providing any guarantees. Not I think have a removed transaction notification. It's just, I let know that I saw this. You can choose the want. The node of connected to is not necessarily a sequence event. It tells you what order the sequence actually do.
It usually will not be a sequential.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought
okay. So the thing that I need to double check is if I use the object that describes an Excel transaction, then it's not what it should be. It shouldn't have an int or a block hash or anything that I need to make sure that have.
It should be a pending transaction. Or even that. I think this is exposed. The block hash might be.
Yeah, I just want to double check.
Yeah, just protect that. So.
Okay. Thank you. Anything? Cool. Back to you, Leo.
Thanks. All right, so let's move on. So I started a thread on new block hashes in the group, but maybe let's also discuss it in this larger forum. The context is that O13.2 definition of the block hash now commit more data which is needed for safely syncing. The question is what to do that are before O13.2. The sort of agreed upon at this moment is let code the new bash on all logs from Genesis 0.14.2 and have in the client implementation. In this way, when a node receives sync peer-to-peer, it can which it. So to do that, basically need to find a discrepancy between all the data from Genesis till now between different client implementations. I think Yael already suggested one point, but there might be like weird edge here and there. So first, we start from that. We start this work. Good time. Or 30.2 is coming up. One way to do that is basically each client starts calculating the hashes on all blocks. We not on all of it, publish it in the group, compare, look at first index, few indexes where we find discrepancies, to again and like this until we resolve all the discrepancies. It's super fun work, but it needs to be done through to be aligned. Any opinion on that? Okay. So some remarks on the other years of 0.8. New endpoint plan, which is get messages status, which is one transaction and responds with all the messages that were triggered from that Ethereum transaction. Just wanted to say how I know can gather info, because everyone is familiar with how the core contract works. I think the easiest way is to listen to the event of the corporate log message to then that event has relevant data to calculate the L1 handler transaction that will send or not on Starknet. Basically retrieve all it from that link. That's pretty much it for this, but this does introduce list flow into the nodes. What else? Yeah, just to say that there are various PR 0.8. There's also the proven 2 status, which is a status that we want to produce. So this is a greater degree of optionality for a transit between accepted to unaccepted on, which basically means we run Starknet OS and it exit success. This is a pretty strong guarantee for able to include in an update. The main, I don't want to get into this, in this, be able to in the next meet. But the main question here is how the node will sync on the state transition.